Alright, everybody, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a long time since I've done any type of recording other than my performances that were recorded for me. Uh, there was a recent performance I did at a nearby at a local bar called Badlands. It was a it was a charity event called Heartbreaker event. And so I got to go there and perform and to help raise funds for charity, which is what I do. And that's why I started this channel to try to raise funds for charity as well through my Patreon, of course. And if you can, please join my Patreon account. You can find the link to my Patreon within the description area. And I do thank you for your your for subscribing. For those of you who subscribe, I now have 205 subscribers. I do thank you for your support. And like I was trying to say, I will thank you for your support if you go to my Patreon as well and become a Patreon contributing member. And I gotta go in and check some of my videos, make sure I got the listing for the link for the Patreon in there, because I don't know if I did or not. I'll check that later. But anyway, let's get started. Started here. Okay, we're recording. Yes. Go. And last time we left off, we were still doing the DLC Mount Moments for Derek. So let's get to that. Early the next day, Leslie hung around the apartment. Derek was showering after the gym, and you both already had a quick breakfast. Oops. I just remembered I don't have any water here. Give me a moment. Sorry about that. All right, I'm back. It was a true change of pace to have a slow morning a slow day on your trip, you welcomed the break. Derek wanted to pop over to his parents' house for more time. He was still itching to get his hands on Nico's Switch, but there was a blank schedule besides that. No long travel promises to fulfill or plans to keep up with. Yes, foot. Ah, there we go. To one of balance out one free day. The next set to be extra full. Tomorrow evening you would be leaving Prism Vista City. Your bus ticket was already purchased. Oh really? Where are we going? You'd need to pack and prepare and somehow do something you could ever want to before it was too late. Truly grasping your own departure wasn't easy. So much had happened, but all felt way too fast. Like a much anticipated audio book set to 5 times normal speed. Your life with Derek was very nearly only a memory. Your adventure at the water park had taken a place in your mind right by the time you got to go to the boardwalk with the Soares family. Whether it was years ago only a day ago, over was over. Being closer in time made it no more reachable in the present. Cheery holler from the hall shook you out of your own head before you could get entirely lost in it. Hey Chippy, I'm ready to go. Cool. I'm all set too. I'm glad we can visit. I want to spend more time with the boys and your parents while I can.
Totally.
Got a picture. Okay. His eyes twinkled boyishly as he grinned at you. Your lips quivered up at the infections of enthusiasm. Everyone there is looking forward to seeing you. Come on. Derek led the charge out of the front door, which he locked behind him, and onward until you'd arrived at the Soares front door. You rang the bell and didn't have to wait before Miss Soares' eager face appeared. That explicit smile was identical to the one she wore when you were first reunited.
Good to see you.
Good morning, Derek. Chippy, welcome back. She ushered the two of you inside, as much gumption as your original arrival as well. Before you could question that curiosity, you were confronted by another. The living room you'd been led to was entirely empty, aside from you and Derek and his mom. The three Sarah's men were missing. George could be on his way. Nicholas might be waiting for the guest in his room, and perhaps Miss Suarez needed to use the bathroom. Mr. Suarez needed to use the bathroom. Separately, any of those possibilities made sense, yet all of them being the case at once felt odd. Should we have come later? No, your timing is perfect. She smiled at you wider, but the leading tone of her voice and the Nicholas skewed gleam in her eyes wasn't particularly comforting. It only made you more certain that something was going on. You were going to ask, but the words slammed against the back of your throat. When George and Nico sprung up from behind the chair. Okay, surprise. Surprise. Yep. Okay. How did they fit? That's what really got you. The Suarez living room wasn't suited for hiding. The boys must have been lying on the ground, pressed together, and you had to be positioned in the exact right angle not to see them tucked away there. Your wide-eyed expression was their reward. Two jumping jacks laughed openly, and even kind Miss Urez clapped her hands together in satisfaction at your slack jaw. What is the surprise for? You slammed out the question, still in the daze from the entirely unexpected jump scare. What do you think, genius? The voice of that sharpened quip was unmistakable. You haven't managed to blink since the younger Sarah's shout. The trend continued. Oh, it's our sister. Pointing your dry eyes towards the kitchen, you had to wonder if you were seeing things. Somehow, magically, your older sister had appeared out of thin air to leer at you smugly from over the counter. The laws of space-time were no consideration when it came to teasing you. Liz. Duh. Of course. That stun wasn't their ideal. that stunt wasn't their idea. I'm gonna give her a hug. You rushed over and hugged her. You ripped your feet from where they'd taken root and flung your arms around the delicate shoulders of your only big sister. She held back and flipped her bright orange ponytail over her shoulder like she was donning a scarf of the finest silk. Got you. Yeah, she had, and you couldn't have been happier. The persistent self-satisfaction Liz had radiated throughout the room was reeled in to reveal a softer, more genuine pleasure. How good to see you, little bro. So, you weren't busy, were you? No. That was merely a ploy. I'm never too busy for you. Huh? Or a bonus trip where all I had to do was show up. Huh. What do you mean? Liz laughed with an all-knowing air. It was a sound you were very familiar with. I do love you, but I wasn't going to arrange an entire trip to join you now when I already had to prepare one for Mom's party in less than a month. You can thank your beefcake friend for handling the details, and his parents for letting me borrow their guest room. That's how it happened. He's noisy as well as persistent. Derek was involved. You had felt nothing could shock you after Liz revealed, but you had been proven wrong. The man who suddenly had a spotlight thrown on him stood with an awkward stiffness. His arms were folded so tight the form might have been chiseled out of stone. Is that supposed to be a compliment or an insult?
Nope.
Neither. It's the truth.
Might try.
I'm gonna take that in the positive way, then. Good for you. Derek, you really helped Liz with her trip out here. Derek's grin shrunk shyly. The decision to view his actions in a good light was being put to the test now that it was your turn to talk about them. The sibling group wouldn't have been complete without Liz. Who knows if she'd have time to come to the city during your mother's anniversary. Nicholas and George missed her. Especially Borgie. Okay. take that picture. Nico shot out the commentary without looking away from his phone. George glared, completely unseen by the target of the daggers. But he didn't vocalize his disagreement with the statement. And we figured you wouldn't mind seeing your sister when she came by. So we worked it out. Surprise. Derek Saras, you're too nice.
I got you.
I say I'm exactly nice enough. Bashfulness crept over his features even more, though, like Derek's general perspective, it was good and kind of bashful rather than a bad one. He was pleased with himself. And then the door at the very end of the hall burst open. The entire room simultaneously appeared in that direction. Surprise! Mr. Saras finally made an appearance of his own, and it was an entrance. He waved his hands in the air and walked over with a gently high step. The parade of unexpectedness that day was endless. Before you could even ask the question, Soares explained what that was about. Mr. Soares was going to be behind the counter. However, I banished him to his bedroom until he was certain Liz's scheme was finished. He was laughing too much. He was going to ruin it. I was about to get him myself, but he managed to figure it out. Every single one of Mr. Sora's sons nodded in support of their mother's decision, including Derek, who wasn't there when it happened. He must have been able to imagine it easily enough. Yes, I didn't get to stay, but I could still join a little late. It's an extra surprise. That's making lemons into lemonade. You never had a reason to wonder how Derek ended up with so much enthusiasm.
That's what I like to hear.
Or optimism, excuse me. Very good. Thank you for being a good sport. My wonderful husband.
You're welcome.
Lovely wife. And welcome to you, Chippy and Derek. We're all here.
Right.
That's right. We are. The Prince and Sarah's family enjoyed the mini reunion full of affection before eventually things settled back into a casual atmosphere. The addition of Liz into the mix was truly seamless. George and his parents bustled around the kitchen to cook their own late breakfast. They'd had no time for food while waiting to make a grand reveal. Nicholas elected to help by not getting in the way. He sat at the table with his face on his phone. The youngest had been completely sucked into the screen in a way you hadn't seen before. You stuck with your sister on the couch. Derek flanked her on the other side. She recounted her traveling adventures, including how at one point she had ride a bus and that actually took a wrong turn. Since when did bus drivers take the wrong route? Liz demanded out of the air. Her long list of points worth nothing continued right up until a new announcement was cheerily made. Food's done. Hooray! Eggs, sausages, and well-seasoned diced tomatoes had been prepared with fresh fruits available on side. The whole room smelled of pepper, garlic, and a host of other savory spices. Derek already ate, and Liz politely passed on the meal as well. She had way too many snacks during the overnight trip and couldn't have another bite. Okay. You realized you were still a bit hungry and accepted the offer. Yeah, sure. Your very kind host stood aside so you could get your meal first. You didn't want to keep them waiting by disagreeing with the order. You got off your seat, filled out a dish with some breakfast, and returned to your place by Liz. Right before George's butt made contact with his seat, he paused in midair.
Oh,
wait, I forgot the chili flakes.
It's no problem.
Sit, I've got you. Derek winked at his little bro and said, younger brother plopped down into the chair. The scrambled eggs piled high on George's plate jiggled. Derek pushed off the cushion took a few strides into the kitchen and retrieved a tube of deep red edible confetti. Rather than walk over to the table, Derek stayed right where he was and lobbied George's chili flakes over to the counter. Heads up. The receiver snatched it right out of the air. George looked at the item now in his hand and chuckled. Good pass. I'm not rusty yet. Derek salted from a distance as George began to liberate sparkle chili flakes over every part of his meal. At the other end of the dark wood table, another familiar exchange occurred. Miss Soros rubbed her littlest child's barrel back and spoke to him gently. Nico, are you eating? Her sweetness got a lukewarm shrug of one shoulder from Nicholas. His phone remained in his grasp, and the center of his attention food wasn't enough to sway his focus. I'm just going to have a bowl of cereal. You continued to relax quietly. Miss Soros gave the teen one final pat on and left it there. She wasn't content that he at least wasn't going hungry. Unexpectedly, your ears perked up at a small squeak, and then the unmistakable rush of running water. Once again, your gaze went to the opposite side of the room. Derek's back was turned to the crowd, and the clatter he was making continued with the clinging of pans. The actual reason why Derek had gone to the kitchen and stayed there became evident. He'd intended to wash the dishes. Boo. What? Alright, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Sorry about the disruption. Had a little thing I had to take care of. Some stuff. Nowhere but the Sarah's house would such a gesture be met with swift disdain. But Derek and his impulse to do everything for everyone was infamous.
Please don't worry.
Son, you're a guest. And you didn't even eat. You can't be on one of those cleanups. One who cleans up. Liz acted mostly as an observer to the family circus, though couldn't help tisking about it under her breath. What an absolute menace of politeness. Don't leave me, you jokingly reached out to him. Your truly pitiful plea didn't go unheard.
Oh,
Chippy. Derek's face turned just enough to peek at you. A tiny smile pulled at the corners of his mouth. I'm so alone.
Rude.
I'm right here. Yeah, we know, sis. That doesn't count. Fine. I can't abandon you. He lifted his head high and rolled his shoulders in preparation. Then he began the long journey from the kitchen to the living room. Mr. Suarez and his junior gave a round of applause as the oldest son left the sponge behind. Soon breakfast at the Suarez home was finished. Nico did put his phone down for long enough to pour cereal and milk into a bowl and eat. The kitchen was cleaned by George and his parents. Derek remained seated with his idle hands in his lap like a proper guest. He'd always been at your house growing up. Your gaze drifted across the room of relaxed faces. You knew them all well, your family. It was the perfect moment to let Liz in on how strong the relationship between you and another person had become. You had plenty of vigor, but still paused at the threshold. It struck you that until a couple of hours ago you were certain you had to talk to Liz about Derek over the phone whenever she was free. But thanks to your new boyfriend, you could do it in person. He'd done it all before you were even together. He cared he cared about you no matter what. You never wanted to take that for granted, and you were gladly going to return the favor of Liz's surprise with a reveal of your own. Now, leaning forward, you made direct eye contact with Derek. His brows rose. You'd gotten his attention, keeping it subtle, that's the word. You tilted your head towards your sister. Derek's face scrunched, trying to decipher the gesture. You kept nudging your chin her way, your glance darting from him to Liz. Finally, it hit him. Derek's features brightened, and he threw out a thumbs up. What?
Oops.
So much for subtly, but you needed to get her attention, so that could be rolled with. Oh, Lizzie, I've got some news for you. Me and Derek might get married. Derek moved his hand across the space to place it on your shoulder. It was steady. You weren't sure what you were expecting, but she chuckled, and that probably should have been foreseeable. That was the best joke she'd heard in ages, apparently. Her smirk flattered as Derek explained further. It's true. I asked Chippy to marry me if we were both single when we were 23. I was 13 at the time. Yeah, I wasn't as mature as I pretended to be. Derek's face flushed, and he shuddered one eye. His charismatic grin survived the wave of embarrassment.
Whatever works.
Still, it was what it is, and we're going to see how it goes. The official deadline is the end of summer. That announcement had gone the impossible. It made Liz speechless for a moment. She could only gawk in disbelief. Honestly, what you were asking her to accept was a bit ridiculous, but all trace of shock was swiftly replaced by a bold as brass smirk, as to be expected from your big sister. Her eyes narrowed into tiny slits, yet you could see them gleam.
Okay.
Ah, It all makes sense. You carted me out here to be a witness to your secret contractual union. Very sneaky, Sir is. The job couldn't penetrate, pen, penetrate Derek's armor of confiance. He felt no shame about bringing this to Prisma Vista City.
Nah.
Nah, you'd be shipped home before the consideration process is over. But if Chippy wants you to be there in a couple of months, I'll see what I can do about planning another trip. What a gentleman. Congrats on your upcoming nuptials, both of you. The maybe it won't happen for real line is obviously a pretense. She couldn't completely remove the weariness that was natural to her face, but when she looked at you again, her eyes were soft. I cannot possibly imagine how romancing Mr. Doomy that Mr. Let Me Do That For You over here wouldn't work out. Are you proud of me for securing such a strong player for the team, Prince? I am. He's a ringer. And I don't mean just because he's wanting to put an actual ring on your finger. Your laughter then was sweet and tingling. It reminded you of your mom more than your sister, but she did take after your parents in a lot of ways. Clearly the Soros family got to know this before me. Who else have you told? Your mom's and Mr. Holden, and now you. That will have to do.
Leave it to me.
You'll be the first in line if Chippy does go through with the plan. Lovely. I knew this relationship was wise. Your heart was completely full. You got to tell your moms and your old neighbor and your sister, and they'll all supported you as Derek's family did. It was settled. Life was great. Except for the fact that you weren't able to come up with anything to say. You couldn't keep repeating how happy you were, but didn't know how to move on. Luckily, someone else had an idea. So, Nicholas spoke without being spoken to for the first time in an age. And more amazingly, the phone was gone. It must have returned to the comfort of Nicholas's romper pocket. Want to see the pool? There's one here too. We can dip our feet in and get some sun, hang out. A pool? Yep. As a young lady raised by the shore, she had gained beach snobbery, but she didn't need to glare from Derek to correct her attitude. I'd check it out. That'd be great. Derek pipped up in agreement as George nodded along.
Let's get to it.
Let's do it.
Go on.
That's a perfect plan. You go enjoy yourselves. Dad and I will stay here. Take a break from parental supervision. Mrs. Suarez had a very proper chartle. I think that's the word. They certainly don't need any supervision. They are very mature adults in their own rights. Besides Nico, but he is close. His childlike gleefulness was followed by a frustrated sigh that was distinctly teenager-like. We're leaving now. Nicholas said we, but was obviously going with or without anyone else. He was grown up enough to make that decision.
See you.
Nicholas slipped a key off the hook by the door and was out. Hurried goodbyes were exchanged. Then the rest of the sibling group made a beeline to catch up with Nico. Your target was strolling through the hall, hands on his hips and whistling a tune. His tenseness had cleared entirely as soon as he had left. Nicholas cast a gaze back at the crowd stumbling up to him. He offered a smile and struck up a casual conversation. I've gone down to the pool for at least a couple of minutes almost every day since summer started. It's basically a ritual. That's cool. You need your daily dose of chlorine. That I do, bro. The party of five continued to the ground floor of the apartment condo and out to the back. Nicholas took out a key card for the pool door. He already had it on him before ever suggesting the idea. He meant it when he said there was going he was going there as it was a regular occurrence. The normal key he took must have been for the house. The area itself felt familiar, as if you were the one going there every day instead of Nico. A pale blue rectangular surrounded by rows of identical lounge chairs. It was a pool. You like both pools the Sarahs had brought you to. They had unique charms and qualities. The warmth, gradual increase of depths. Now, how the stairs were arranged all stood apart from other locations. While everyone else stalled at the entrance, stalled at the entrance. Nicholas kept on walking. He headed straight to the edge, crouched low to roll up his pant legs, and shifted it onto his butt and dunked his feet into the water. Liz and George shared a side-eye glance. There had been an assumption that you'd be hanging out together. Nicholas, however, didn't show much interest in that settlement. His mood had been all over the place, and ultimately Liz and George elected to give him space. The two camped out on side by side, lounge chairs close enough to keep an eye on Nico, but not enough for conversations to be audible between the pair and Solo. Derek watched the chips fall, despite his supposedly being fun in the Sun venture with the whole gang. He was frowning. The water sloshed from Nicholas kicking his feet. His eyes were towards the sky, and those long strands of brown hair were nearly brushing the concrete tiles. Excuse me. He felt much further away than he physically was.
Anyway,
I'm gonna sit with Nico. Feet in the pool is the only way to go, and he might like the company. Would you mind if I wanted to just be me and him? It's been a while since he's gotten any one-on-one time. Of course, I wouldn't mind. You deserve quality time together. Thanks, Chippy. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I'd hate to make you feel like I ditched you out of the blue. Derek, it is okay. Go to your brother.
See you.
Yeah, see you. You waved at one another off and parted ways. Your assigned companions were stretched out quite comfortably as you approached. Neither lifted their hands from the rest underneath them, but their eyebrows went higher.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey to you too. Too. You took the chair on Liz's right. It was free and next to your sis. That was all you needed. She watched you intently as you settled in. How kind of you to spend time with your older sister. Your fiance is in the other direction. Missed you, Liz, you said sincerely. It was true. You'd been so happy getting to see Derek, but that didn't mean you'd miss a chance to be with your only sister. All the playful snide Liz had drained away. I missed you too. Then Liz primly smooched her rumple of crinkliness while working the sentimental wrinkles out of her expression. Well, before you arrived, Borgie here mentioned the recent Father's Day celebration that happened and how mild it was, fitting for him. It isn't it?
Yeah.
And she just had to give her usual Elizabeth complete complimentary right now. Their plastic seats creaked as Liz and George stretched their torsos to lob neutral glowers across the space between them. And then they fell back down, all smiles and snickers. But as I was saying, nothing about the event was unexpected. Though it's possible my standards are too high, I need to accept that nothing will ever top the first time. How can you beat a couple of 13-year-olds skipping down to have a Father's Day party with one of their sisters? No dads in sight. Liz lifted her hands off her lap and spread them out in a wide shrug. Oh well. Father's Day parties are predictable. You should look in a mirror. I know you'd be joking about that forever, and you still are. Maybe you were predictable too because she squinted at you coolly with a retort already on her lips. It's my responsibility as the oldest to carry on the family's history, especially the embarrassing pieces. Oh, I know you have to. The more something means to you, the more sarcastic you have to be about it. That got her to pout. Sheesh. Liz's normally result intentions began to waver. It was because George's had first she had been distracted by him, and his disturbance was his brothers. Dirk and Nicholas remained on their own. The men on the water's edge were in their own little world. The elder had an arm around the younger's shoulder, whose head was resting against the taller Sarah's shoulder. George couldn't know what they were saying from that distance, or if they were even speaking, what expressions were on their faces from that perspective, but his gaze remains set. George. The unexpected firmness in Liz's voice entirely snapped him out of his growing reverie. Okay, whatever. Yes. There is something we must discuss. There is.
So?
Duh. You've danced around the details, but now that we're face to face, you must tell me, what is this person you're seeing actually like?
Huh?
What?
Come on.
George, how can I judge if they're good enough for you if there's nothing to scrutinize? And is thy even right? I am starved for details. Well, X as X it's pronouns, so process you've made process. What else? What's your name? Nova. We're both at the same college, both in STEM, and met as a speaking event where people from different majors and classes all attend. Ah, how did it happen? You two making a connection. Basically, between talks, most people hung around the halls waiting for the next to start. Neither of us made much of an attempt to strike up conversations with the others and ended up gallivanting towards each other silently. Your sister couldn't help interrupting. The comment on her head was too good to keep to herself. She giggled delightedly. Reveling, what a way to describe a couple of nerds coming together. Go on. You know, I'm not an expert in small talk, or that interested in it. Nova overthinks things. It makes chatting with strangers a challenge. But after waiting around for what had to be at least 13 minutes, Yixi started asking me questions. It went on from there and kept going. We exchanged numbers at the end of the event. Back then, I thought Yixi had gotten bored after doing nothing for so long, but Nova told me later that Yixi had been trying to get self to just say something already the entire time. Yixi also said the reason Yixi decided to talk to me in the end was because of my forest tranquil features. I didn't know exactly what that means. The sight of George so sorely a gal was enough to make Liz shrivel. Oh no. I'm being won over already. Who will be bad cop when you bring Yixi home, Derek? I doubt it. I bet Nico would. He's got spunk. Yeah, too much. Nova wouldn't get a word in edgewise with him giving a third degree. That would work. Me too. You, Liz, and George continue to familiar chat amongst each other. Or rather, you and Liz kept getting George to dish on his life in college with Nova and other friendly and not so friendly acquaintances he'd made. But eventually...
What's up?
What's up, everyone? You tilted your faces up. Standing over the three of you was the solid figure of Derek Soares. Behind him was Nicholas, fiddling with a strand of his wild mane. The youngest and oldest Soares had ended their quietly alone time. Whatever went on between them, they didn't mention it. George or Liz didn't ask. Your sister was keen to pry into George's romantic life, but not the worries between two brothers. Welcome, boys. Take a seat anywhere you like. I don't mind. The last hints of pessimist lingering around Nico softened at the brash greeting. I'm the only person in this pool area who actually lives here. Where did you get all that authority? Liz is the boss wherever she is, whether it's true or not. Liz struck a dignified pose with one shoulder jolting forward and her hands on her hips. But the fact that she was lying down while doing it made it fairly silly. It's easy to be in charge when you're always the oldest, no matter how tall or muscular any of you kiddos get. I've got 2 to 9 years on you. Don't forget it.
I know.
We won't. I guarantee you to bring it up often to ensure that.
Good.
Good. So, are you going to accept my graciousness? I think I'm going to pass for all the chair's promise of lounging. I don't feel comfortable in them. They're always either too thick or sticky to your skin, in no way slippery with zero in between. I'll miss the seat too. Of course you will. George and Liz were so tickled by their stimulus response that you were sure they would have high-fived if he wasn't so reserved. She not so set on behaving maturely. Nico's slight frame was entirely unmoved by the teasing. Derek, however, did react with an awkward chuckle. The now whole group was able to reunite with ease, as if the 5 of you had been chatting the entire time. Liz hummed, self-satisfied. I'm not complaining, but I have to say it's so weird to be sunbathing at a pool and not the beach. Pools have their pros, if you say so. Crossing his arms and letting His eyes shut, George shared his own perspective. It was rare, but always welcome. I think it's weird to be at this pool, not the one we grew up with. Oh, yeah? I only ever saw it from a distance. I don't know the joy of truly being there. That's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than this one.
Yeah!
Yeah, from me too. While the brothers wore the set of nostalgic grins, Liz's smile was far more devious. If you weren't, if you want to, I wonder if we could sneak a peek. All the gentle, sentimentally from George's face dropped to the floor and methodically shattered. The idea of doing that never was in this lifetime. Would have crossed George's mind if he'd been left on his own. But Liz was here to continue to make her case. There has to be a way to slip in. We don't have to be long. No one will know we don't actually live there.
I figured.
Elizabeth never changes. Her rule-breaking intentions were brushed off entirely with a light-hearted laugh by Derek. It was nothing more than talk. At least it had been until a calm, even voice made it real. We could do it. The lock broke years ago. No way no way have they fixed it. Derek snatched a mantle brazen inducted, shook off George due to middle son's even stunning suggestion. Nicholas whistled in amazement. He wasn't nearly as scandalized. She really brings out George's bad boy side. Damn straight. Maybe I shouldn't have brought her after all. I don't know. Derek's impulsiveness seems to run in the family. Do I have to remind you of all that time you jumped into the old pool while fully dressed? The whole group laughed. Liz hadn't been there, but the fact like that couldn't be kept under wraps. His brother's parents, friends, and random acquaintances were all aware of the night Derek took a night swim in a sports jersey and jeans. I Exactly. I'm definitely not the only Suarez with mischievous streak bro.
Come on.
Hey, Nico's worse than both of us combined. Guilty as charged. Liz, George, and Nico, the troublemaker trio, which they now were, shared sneaky glances between one another.
What?
Hooah. You can't be serious. We're already at a pool and not even swimming in it. We we don't need another more illegal one. You guys lived there long enough to deserve permanent pool rights, I'd say. Your argument with Into the Sea was followed by three whoops. The trio was actually a quartet. Derek stretched at the top of his head with expression equal parts amusement and bemusement.
Really?
You too, huh? It's the Prince way, and that's four against one. Majority rules.
Woo!
Yeah, break-in time. Nicholas was pushing his luck with that line, but Derek sighed in acceptance. He ran a hand down his face and to study himself. Okay, let's do it. But don't call it a break-in. We're visiting our old home without checking if we have permission. It's different, sort of. Another round of cheers rang out in the lesser pool's gated area. Derek bounced nervously on his feet and snickered.
Oh, man.
You're all so bad. But he meant it as a compliment. Your criminal organization began Operation Walk into an unlocked pool in a way that's not entirely equivalent to break-in. The five of you tiptoed out of the condo complex, worried Mr. and Ms. Suarez would decide at the worst possible time to check up on you, but you made it to the car. George instantly on the middle of the seat for the drive over. He didn't have it in him to make Liz take it, and Nicholas abruptly refused to. On arrival, Derek found a place to park far in the back, away from prying eyes. The set of brothers led the way to the pool's gate. They strode forward confidently. It was a trip the three had made hundreds of times. You never doubt that they belonged. George pushed on the door and it swayed open without resistance. A light breeze could have gotten through that security. He glanced at the rest of you and curled his fingers into a thumbs up. Mission accomplished. And this is the old pool of in condos where they used to live. The pool was exactly as it appeared in the distant memories you had held in onto for many years. This is awesome. George and Nico scrambled around carefree. They checked out each nook and cranny and had a story to tell about everyone. Okay. Here. You shut the door. There you go. Sorry about that, I'm back. The two brothers shouted reminiscences back and forth across the space from the time Nicholas caught a bee without being stung to the day George got hit with a massive nosebleed in the deep end. Derek too lit up in the presence of an old intimate friend. The hint of nostalgia had done wonders for getting over his innate rule follower tendencies. You were grateful for Liz's stroke of brilliance. It was a perfect addition to your sibling gathering. The young ones were happy, and it had been much too long since you and Derek snuck around somewhere you technically weren't allowed to be in. The woman in question observed her handiwork from the greatest distance. The sweet curve of her mouth expressed happiness. Her dry camaraderie didn't. It's not the beach, but it's nice. Once the initial excitement settled down, the casual hangout session continued on as it had been left off. Like Derek had guessed, changing venues from one pool to another didn't have much of an impact on you, what you did, but it make for a new memory to add to the collection. George stood near his brothers as he recounted the recent paper he pinned on the Doppler effect. Nico and Derek gleefully expressed awe at the achievement.
Nice work.
You've always been the smarts of our operation. With the 3 chances, at least one of us guys had to have a decent amount of brain cells to rub together. see. Brains, bronze, and looks. You brothers all have it. Have it all. A full set of rosy faces grinned at you. Thanks, Chippy. George's informative explanation was cut off by a fast-paced techno-pop beat. It wasn't a bad tune, but it made Nicholas shriek. Ah! She's calling now. He scrambled to retrieve his long-abandoned phone. The events of the morning came back to you with clarity. She was the reason he'd been so distracted. You watched the teen cautiously. Nico had completely frozen after managing to get the device out of his deep pocket. What do I do? Answer it. Was George's plan reply? It was perfectly reasonable, and the only other option besides not answering it. Unfortunately, that bit of common sense was no help to Nico. His breathing was rapid, and the phone shook in his hands. Derek gave you gave advice. You got more experience liking somebody than me. I only found one less than a year ago.
Ugh.
In most cases, Derek was the first jump at solving the problem, but he'd pretended not to see what the whole scene, at least until he'd forcibly been thrown into the event by George's straightforwardness. I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. It's a long recording, so I'm gonna stop right there, save it, and we'll save it to the next page. Right there. There we go. So thanks for watching on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe button, and don't forget to check out my Patreon and become a Patreon contributing member. And I thank you for all your support. For all my subscribers, just subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys later.